Get ready, we're gonna go see your grandparents. And Scotty, Auntie Esther's gonna come watch you.
Dad, Sid's coming with us, okay?
Yeah, listen, Sid, what's going on this week is really a family matter. You understand? Sid's not gonna be interested in meeting your grandparents. He's gonna be bored stiff.
Dad, I told you that he was gonna be with me. I'll be a lot more civil with him around.
What can I say?
I'm going to be completely honest, people. It was really hard to pick the number 10 slot this year. I mean, I could have given it to a million films. Tinker, Tailor, Soldier, Spy, Drive, The Ides of March, you know, you name it, Warrior. God, what a great movie Warrior was. But at the end of the day, I had to choose something. And so I picked Alexander Payne's The Descendants. I picked this film because I love Alexander Payne. I think that he's one of the best writers and one of the most clever directors that exists today. I love Sideways to death. I enjoyed Election. I enjoyed About Schmidt. But I honestly think that this movie is quite possibly the best movie that Payne has ever put together. And I think that the reason for that is because he has found his stride. There is nothing that he cannot accomplish when he puts his mind to it. And by casting George Clooney in the lead here as this guy that we're following, he has just done one over on anything that he's done before. It was similar to what he did in About Schmidt by putting Nicholson and such a wonderful actor in the lead. Clooney is equally up to the test here, but this film, more so than other Payne films, is much more emotional, it's much more deep, and it's much more about the individual details of all these little characters, and getting these characters right makes a huge difference. So casting these characters makes a huge difference. I can't tell you how important it was to get the daughter right in this film. Wonderful performance by Shailene Woodley, who I had never seen in anything before. I mean, she's quite outstanding here, and she's probably going to get an Academy Award nomination. But I mean, I have to come back to Clooney, because Clooney's really the heart and soul of this film. He gets the laughs, he gets the emotion, he gets every little bit of it. And so even with all the wonderful cinematography and everything, it would have been nothing without Clooney being so astounding, and he so is in this film. So I mean, I'm honestly expecting that, you know, come this year, Clooney's going to get his first Academy Award win for Best Actor. He's not my personal favorite. I actually thought that Thomas Horn in Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close was my favorite. And I like Leonardo DiCaprio a whole lot in J. Edgar. But I'm not going to be upset if Clooney wins this thing. He's just amazing. And one last thing to note on this film as well. The way that Payne manages to make Hawaii a character in this film, it always astonishes me when you're able to make the landscape a character. When it's more than just, you know, something in the background. That it's literally a character that we can follow, and he does that in this film, so it's exceptionally impressive work. The number 10 film of 2011, The Descendants.
What have you done?
Well, you looked a little cold, so I lit the fire.
In a boat! How's your thirst for adventure?
Excellent.
In the number 9 slot this year, I decided to pick the funnest movie that I saw, the best time that I had at the theater. And it's actually kind of an interesting story, The Adventures of Tintin. The first time that I saw this film, it was so screwed up. The studio messed up so big time. It came out in 3D, and the 3D was so messed up. It was all fuzzy and shaky and the whole 9 yards. We had to wait for 45 minutes for the thing to start. And then by the time it started, it was still fuzzy and shaky. And we just had to decide at that point in time, well, do we stay? Do we go? And I had taken my kids out of school. It was supposed to be a big thing for them. They were celebrating. They had done amazing in school, had all gotten straight A's. And so it was supposed to be a special thing for them. And I wasn't going to go. You know, we had wasted all this time. And so we decided to watch it. After about the first 45 minutes to an hour of the film, they fixed it, and then by the time they fixed it, it wasn't really fixed. They had just messed up the 3D, so now the dimension that was supposed to be in the foreground was in the background. So, I mean, I went through this whole film with a massive headache. But still, with all of that, I couldn't think of a more entertaining movie I saw all year. It looked like crap. It gave me a headache. It was all screwed up. The studio screwed it up so big time, but it was so awesome. The movie itself. And it just made me think, man, if this movie looked this pristine and was this well cut and was this exciting and this fun and this funny and everything about it was so awesome, man, amazing. Man, imagine if it wasn't screwed up, you know? So we went back on Saturday and saw it again, and boy was I right. This movie was a blast. It starts and then it goes 90-0. It's just moving. I mean, people will argue that they may have a problem with it because there's not a whole lot of character development and you're just kind of getting to know Tintin with his actions as opposed to, you know, getting any sort of background. And honestly, you could, you know, you really don't know, is Tintin a kid? Is he not? Is he a journalist? You know, well, I mean, we know he's a journalist, but, you know, what is he really and what is his back history? And you don't know and you don't care and it doesn't matter. The movie is, I mean, essentially to me, Tintin is a journalist, Indiana Jones. And this film was like going back in time and experiencing what it was like to see Raiders of the Lost Ark, to see The Last Crusade when I was a kid. It was like Spielberg was given this open canvas through animation to make something exciting and fun and fresh, and just don't miss it. It's not making enough money in the box office as far as I'm concerned because it is such a blast. And that 4-minute sequence or whatever that my son talked about on the review where Tintin is, you know, jumping off the car and grabbing after the bird and flying through here and it's all done in one shot. I mean, it may be animated, but that is still so impressive. And that scene is hands down, even with the cool action sequences that were in Mission Impossible, that scene is hands down the most spectacular scene I've seen in anything all year. So, number 9, The Adventures of Tintin.
Come on, Tom. Let's finish this the way we started it.
Together!
I find it quite strange that this film is not on more top 10 lists. It is the best reviewed movie of the entire year, yet for some reason, critics have been so cynical over putting this film in their top 10 list. I don't get it. It was the same thing with fantasy movies for the last 50 years. We just can't seem to get past ourselves enough to see how unbelievably imaginative these films are. But even more so, I mean, we're looking at a film that will probably win for Best Visual Effects this year. It is truly a sight to behold. But the thing that's so spectacular about this film has nothing to do with the spectacle itself. It has to do with the characters. These characters are so well acted. They have been so well developed. All of it has been so amazingly constructed over the last 10 years that by the time we get to this ending, by the time we get to this huge battle between Harry and Voldemort, the stakes could not be higher. And when we lose people, we feel it inside. It's like family members. These people we have grown with for the last decade of our lives. This makes this movie unbelievably powerful. And at some points actually quite difficult to watch. And you gotta think about that for a minute. We're talking about a summer blockbuster that you can say is so emotional that it's quite difficult to watch. That when two characters are shooting magic at each other, I mean, just quite a spectacle to see. That we're moved emotionally, that we feel it inside, that we're not just wowing at the screen, that we are moved by what it is that we're seeing. This has been the case for some time now, but in this film in particular, it is so apparent that you can't help but kind of give it up to the astonishing team that has put this thing together. I said it in my review and I'll say it again. The Harry Potter series is quite possibly the greatest series of films in history. And I personally believe that when we look back on it, 100 years from now, that this film will be the one that we watch the most. Our number 8 film for 2011, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2.
Do not speak of this. If you do, they will find you.
So the original trailer for Super 8 came out about a year before Super 8 came out, and it really got a lot of people pumped. It's a very well cut trailer, very exciting, leaving this sense of awe and amazement and what is it going to be, and kind of a mixture of fear, and is it going to be a monster movie? What is, just this left us wondering. And then I think a lot of people after that point only saw the television commercials, which made it look as if it was going to be a monster movie, and kind of a scary horror flick, I guess. And they missed the wonderful second trailer for the film, which honestly was the best trailer, maybe next to Dragon Tattoo, that I saw all year, and got me excited and nostalgic about the idea of going back to my roots and watching a movie about young filmmakers making movies and discovering something bigger than themselves. And yes, it was exciting and I wanted to know about the monster, but the thing that really got me most excited was the idea of what it felt like was going to be a return to the heyday of Steven Spielberg. And that's exactly what we got with this movie. I thought that's exactly what we got. And when I watch this movie, every time I watch this movie, because I've watched it many times since the first time, I just get this feeling of going back to those days when movies like Goonies and E.T. and Jaws and Jurassic Park and all these films were kind of the reason why it is that I wanted to start making movies, what it is that made me fall in love with movies in the first place. So this movie, Super 8, holds a very special place in my heart because it's kind of like the Spielberg movie that Spielberg didn't make. And it's the return to the days of my childhood that I didn't know that I really needed, but I definitely did. So I love Super 8, and it may end up being much higher on my end of decade, but for now, number 7, Super 8.